This is my Kijaro dual lock camp chair, and in this video we'll be testing for its ease of setup, pack away, its dual locking feature, storage, quality, and much more. To set up this chair, first undo the drawstring of the carry bag and release the cinch. Next, stand the carry bag up, pull down on the bag, and pull the chair out. I'm not very strong, so I find this to be the easiest way for me. Now, look for this button around the middle of the chair, press it, and make sure you hear a click. This click is what unlocks the chair. Next, locate the 4 rigid corners of the chair, grab opposite corners, pull it open until you hear another click, and the chair is basically all set up and locked into place. When I timed myself setting it up, it took me just 16 seconds. Here's a very important tip. The locking mechanism takes time to get used to. It's occasionally a bit janky, sometimes the button doesn't click and the chair jams when I try to open it up. When this happens, do not use excessive strength to pull the chair open. Instead, pull the chair open just a little bit and press the button again, and this second time it should click and unlock. To pack away the chair, first click the same button. Again, make sure you hear it actually click, and this means the chair is unlocked. Next, grab opposite corners of the chair again and pull everything together. The chair will automatically lock itself again, so you'd hear another click when it does. Then, lay the chair on the ground and slide the feet into the bag. Once it's partly into the bag, stand it upright and shake the bag to get the chair in. Here's another full time lapse, and my entire pack away took about 37 seconds, including getting it back into the bag. As for the unfolded dimensions, here's what I measured. The longest width from armrest to armrest comes in at about 35.5 inches. The longest length from the back of the chair to the front of the seat comes in at 25 inches. And the total height is about 37 inches from the ground to the top of the chair. So the marketed specs for these unfolded dimensions are quite accurate. Now, if you want more detailed seat measurements, here's everything to know, starting with the seat size, which has a marketed depth of 16 inches and width of 22 inches. When I measured the seat width from the front of the seat, that came in at higher than expected, around 23.3 inches. However, if we take into account the 2 steel bars by the sides, the actual seat width drops down to 19 inches. So, this actually gives you 4 inches less space than what you might have been expecting, but for me, it was still more than enough. Seat depth from the back to the front of the seat is 16 inches. As for seat height, that's supposed to be about 20 inches. When I measured the seat height from the front of the chair, it really did come in at exactly 20 inches. But after I sat down on it, and I measured instead the height from the ground upwards to where I was sitting down, that came in at just 15.5 inches. So that's about 4.5 inches less than what you might have been expecting. The backrest height, which is from where the seat ends to the top of the chair, comes in at 22.5 inches. This is enough to cover my entire back, but not enough to give me like a neck rest. And the backrest width is 22.3 inches. Lastly, the angle of recline from the side, taken with a digital projector, is about 23 degrees, so it's fixed in this permanently semi-reclined position. Moving on to features, we're starting with the mesh on this chair. The seat is made of full fabric and only the backrest has some mesh. Now, here's how I measured the actual amount of mesh on the backrest. Of the length of the backrest, 17.25 inch out of 22.5 inches is mesh. For the width, somewhere near the middle to take an average, 11 of 19 inches is made of mesh. So I'd say about 45% of the backrest is mesh. Full calculations will be on the screen, but the only number you need to know is the total amount of mesh on this chair is about 26% mesh and the remaining 74% is fabric. The next feature are the armrests. The material is the same as the seat, so not thickly padded fabric, and the connection at the back doesn't move, so it's not adjustable. Moving on to storage, this chair has a smaller cup holder built into the left armrest and a bigger one built into the right armrest. The smaller cup holder measures about 3 inches in diameter and it measures about 4.5 inches in length, so this is about the perfect size for a chilled can and it won't spill. The bigger cup holder measures about 3.5 inches in diameter, so this is the perfect diameter for a 1 liter Nalgene bottle. You can't fit anything bigger. Length comes in at about 4 inches. Another storage option is this pocket organizer by the side. Total length is 8 inches and the total width is about 6 inches. The front 2 pockets are split into 2 for more organization, and you can fit a phone and some sunnies. And behind it, there's also a zipped up pocket for a total of 3 pockets. As for materials, the fabric is diamond ripstop polyester and it's not padded and it's not very thick. The mesh has holes that are quite big, so it's quite breezy against your back. The feet aren't very big and the chair frame is made of less X-shaped cross poles than your typical camp chair, which usually comes in at all sides, but overall stability is still good and I had no issues. The material of the frame is alloy steel and the thickness of each of the poles comes in at almost 0.7 inches in diameter. And here's some additional info. This chair is made in China. It has a 300-pound weight limit, and you can find the rest of the important info right here. For portability, this chair has a pack size of about 46 inches in length by 7.5 inches in width and about 7 inches in height. For ease of carry, the bag comes with a shoulder strap. It's not padded and not adjustable, but it works well enough. The weight of the chair comes in at 9.4 pounds. The storage bag weighs 0.3 pounds or exactly 5 ounces, and the total weight is 9.7 pounds, which is slightly heavier than marketed. For pros, I thought the dual auto-locking system was quite cool. The frame auto-locks when you set up the chair, and it also auto-locks when it's closed. Hence the name Kijaro Dual Lock. But as I mentioned back in the setup and pack-away test, it can occasionally be a bit finicky, but as long as you take note of it, it's not a big deal. And because of this auto-locking feature, this chair actually has like an expedited setup and pack-away, and here are the details. Instead of taking 16 seconds to set it up, it can take as little as 4 seconds, and the pack-away can take as little as 3 seconds instead of the 37 seconds pack-up that I showed you during my testing. This is how it works. You don't actually need the carry bag because the chair itself has its own carry strap attached to the frame. Here's where the auto-locking feature really comes in handy, because when you pick the chair up and carry it, it actually stays locked in place so you can easily carry it over your shoulder. It kind of opens up a bit in carrying though, because the locking mechanism doesn't get it down as tight as a carry bag, but overall, not a big issue when carrying it so far. So now, when you set up the chair, it's just pressing the button and pulling the chair open until you hear a locking click. This takes just 4 seconds. And when you pack it away, press the button and pull opposite ends together until you hear it click, and that's just 3 seconds. Another great pro about the locking feature is that it also gives this chair no sag seating. For most camp chairs, you don't get a very taut seat, so when you sit down, the chair will actually sink down by quite a bit. However, for the Kijaro, notice that the seat still sags a bit because it's still a fabric seat, but this is very much more minimal, and it's much better for your back than a very saggy seat. On top of that, I also noticed that the seat height on this chair is decently tall. Although you don't exactly get the marketed seat height of 20 inches, the actual height of 15.5 inches is still 4.5 inches taller than your average camp chair, which comes in at quite a low height of only about 11 inches. And with an MSRP of just like $55, this is a very affordable price for a decent quality, no sag, auto-locking, super fast to set up and pack away, and relatively tall seating camp chair. If this video has been helpful so far, please help me hit that like button. It really helps me out. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Now, as for cons, notice that from the side view, the chair has a slight dip to it from the front to the back, and I wish that it were flatter so it'll be better for lumbar support. This was okay for me, but I can also imagine it being uncomfortable for someone who's not as tall and you cannot rest your feet on the ground. And a smaller con is that the pack size is very, very long, almost twice the length of a 2-person camping tent. This is the Coleman Sunderm. On the other hand, most chairs come in at no longer than 35 to 40 inches, so the Kijaro is at least 10 to 20% longer than even the biggest camp chairs out there. On top of that, the front feet of the chair are not as tall as the back feet, so it cannot be stored standing up as well, and you'll have to lean it against something else. Overall, though, not a lot of good quality camp chairs come in at the $50 range and below, so this Kijaro Dual Lock is definitely great value for money at the price, especially considering that most of the cons are pretty small. I have tested a few camp chairs that are even cheaper though, and if you'd like to find out how they compare against the Kijaro, everything you need to know will be in this video on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in that one.